WINS, WINS-FM in HD1 New York.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
More people get their news from 1010 Wins than from any other radio station in the nation. Chris Roush, our writer. Gary Sauter at the editor's desk. I'm Bridget Quinn.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM, New York.
Well, good afternoon. We have 17 degrees. Real feel closer to about 12 right now at 5 o'clock. I'm Donna Vaughn, and here's what's happening. Big snowstorm headed this way. Today, though, it's the cold we've had to contend with. The latest forecast from AccuWeather and the city's storm prep just ahead. Today's icy cold weather is being blamed for 3 deaths in the city, a body found on a Manhattan sidewalk, and 2 more outside in Brooklyn. Mayor Mamdani calls for ICE to be abolished after another civilian was shot to death by ICE agents in Minneapolis. Ukraine's President Zelensky has a positive update about peace talks, even as Russia continues a barrage of missile and drone attacks on major Ukrainian cities. And tennis star Naomi Osaka won't be winning this year's Australian Open. An injury has forced her to pull out. A day game for the Knicks. They're in the third quarter in Philly. The Islanders skating to a loss against the Sabres earlier today. AccuWeather says single-digit real feels for us as it clouds up tonight ahead of the overnight arrival of that snowstorm. Winds News Time is 5:01. Let's get you where you need to go now with Susan Browning.
And let's start off in the Garden State. In Hackensack on the eastbound express lanes of Route 80, right around exit 66, that's Hudson Street. You have a crash there with at least 2 lanes down at this point. If you're coming inbound on the George, not too bad, about 20 minutes or so. Ditto for the outbound side. Lincoln and the Holland, I'd say about 15 minutes. That goes for both directions. And the southbound Henry Hudson in the 120s, I just came past that. And yes, even traffic reporters can get stuck in issues. Several cars involved with the left lane closed down and debris on the roadway. You could take the southbound Riverside Drive, but everybody's doing that. And in Connecticut, southbound 95, right around exit 7 in Stamford, you've got a crash involving several cars. The backup is to Darien. You could use Route 1 or the Merritt, but everybody else is doing that as well. Susan Browning, 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
Oh, keeping a close eye on the forecast today. It's been a brutal weekend so far for the city weather-wise. Extreme cold today, and then, of course, that large snowstorm on tap for tomorrow. AccuWeather meteorologist Carl Erickson has been tracking the storm as the latest for us now in this live report. Carl?
That's right, Dawn. And given the fact that temperatures were down even into the single digits for most of us this morning, the ground is already very cold. So as that snow comes in Sunday morning, it will not take long to start accumulating even on the streets and sidewalks as temperatures stay well below that freezing mark. In fact, the snow begins to move into the city here around daybreak Sunday, and it'll really pick up in intensity quickly Sunday morning. So expect rapidly worsening travel conditions as the morning wears on. Visibility also greatly reduced as those snowfall rates could reach 1 inch per hour at times through the early afternoon before it starts to mix with and even change over to sleet for a time, especially after 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And that wintry mix will continue into tomorrow night before ending as some lighter snow early Monday morning. Putting it all together, expecting 4 to 8 inches of snow across the 5 boroughs and out across Long Island. Further west, there'll be less sleet mixing in. So as you get to some of those Jersey suburbs, then up into Rockland, Orange counties, over to Westchester County and north, their snowfall amounts likely to be on the order of a foot or more, with the snow really piling up quickly Sunday into Sunday afternoon. Donna?
All right, Carl, now with that forecast like that, we have the city's snowplows, hospitals, emergency workers and such. They're all waiting for go time as the storm draws near.
A brief but direct message from Mayor Mamdani.
Stay warm, stay prepared, stay safe.
Heavy snow, low visibility, harsh winds, conditions the city hasn't seen in about 8 years.
New Yorkers can expect whiteout or near blizzard conditions. We anticipate that by Sunday evening, the snow will become sleet.
Yeah, about 8 to 9 inches of snow, possibly more, and freezing temps.
That will last through the next week.
New York, this is a code blue. The mayor says expect more firefighters, ambulance, FDNY, and city tow trucks, an open-door policy at hospitals and shelters, and for 311 calls to be rerouted through 911. Amanda Alexander, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
If you were supposed to fly this weekend, well, lots of luck with that. Some 11,000 flights have already been canceled nationwide. That includes about 300 total so far today at JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark area airports, also reporting a little more than 200 delays at this point. Stick with 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM. We'll keep you posted with our ongoing storm coverage. 3 dead bodies found in the city today, and all of them appear to have been victims of our cold weather. First, the remains of a 67-year-old man discovered in Manhattan on a sidewalk on 3rd Avenue. Hours later in Brooklyn, the body of another man turned up on an outside staircase in Boerum Hill, and then a woman found dead outside in Canarsie. Foul play is not suspected, but the medical examiner will conduct autopsies. A call from Mayor Mamdani for ICE to be abolished after agents shot and killed another civilian in Minneapolis today for the second time this month. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara.
This is a 37-year-old white male who is a Minneapolis resident, and we believe he is an American citizen. We have not been told any official reports of what has led up to the shooting, but we have seen the video that is circulating on social media.
He also urged citizens of Minneapolis to stay calm as more protesters have been taking to the streets since the incident. A huge crowd has gathered at the scene of the shooting despite dangerously frigid weather in that city. Although the man's name hasn't been released yet by authorities, relatives identifying him as Alex Preddy, his parents saying he was an ICU nurse. Federal agents say the officer that opened fire is an 8-year veteran of the Border Patrol. Border Patrol Commander Greg Bavino insists the officer was acting in self-defense.
Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, a Border Patrol agent fired defensive shots. Medics on the scene immediately delivered medical aid to the subject, but the subject was pronounced dead
at the scene. Minneapolis police confirmed the dead man was armed but had a legal carry permit. While the city's law enforcement calls for calm, President Trump has been posting on social media asking where Minneapolis police were and why they weren't protecting ICE officers. Here in New York, Mayor Mamdani didn't only call for ICE to be abolished, but added that ICE terrorizes cities and puts us all in danger. Governor Hochul, meanwhile, calling it another horrific outcome from a federal operation that has clearly spun out of control. Well, it looks like the nurses' strike may hit the 2-week mark with contract talks stalled. Their union says negotiations broke down yesterday because the 3 hospital systems they work for want to cut their health benefits. Simone Way is an RN who was at the bargaining table on Friday.
The only thing we ask is that they provide us with health care. And they said they were going to do it, but they lied.
Now, the union insists the hospitals want them to choose between maintaining their health benefits, getting pay raises, or improving hospital safety, not all 3. New York Presbyterian, though, saying in a statement that their contract proposal includes some of the best benefits in the country, and the hospital is committed to bargaining when the union is ready to get back to the table. Mount Sinai, meanwhile, insisting they have also increased their offer, and they accuse the union of lying about the health benefits being offered. Well, talking peace, but dropping bombs. More Russian attacks on Ukraine, even as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reports that today's peace talks wrapped up with constructive discussions on ending the war.
Ukraine's foreign minister has denounced President Putin for, as he put it, cynically ordering the latest massive overnight bombardment of his country while peace talks are taking place in Abu Dhabi. Ukraine says Russia used nearly 400 drones and missiles targeting its remaining operational energy infrastructure. At least one person has been killed, with dozens more injured.
The 3-way peace talks are the first to directly include the U.S. since the war began almost 4 years ago. That was correspondent Alan Smith. We have 17 degrees, real feel about 8 to 12 degrees colder than that. And that's about where we'll stay overnight in Midtown before the snow arrives. Traffic in the full AccuWeather forecast on the way. The trip through security checkpoints has gotten a little less complicated for passengers at one of Europe's busiest airports. We'll get to that story next, but first, Wins News Time 5:11. Let's get you where you need to go now with Susan Browning.
And also go to the Garden State in New Jersey. Express lanes of Route 80 in Hackensack, right around exit 66, that's Hudson Street. At 2 lanes are closed down there with a crash. And now we're seeing a new collision on the northbound Garden State Parkway at the Union Toll Plaza, Hillside Township. 2 center lanes of 5 lanes closed down, and that just came up on my screen. So I'm not seeing a major slowdown with that at this point. So that issue being worked on the southbound Henry Hudson and the 1-teens crash in the left lane, debris on the roadway. You've got emergency vehicles on the scene. And here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. You're looking pretty good at those Hudson River crossings. Looks like 15 to 20 minutes both ways of the George, both levels too. Lincoln and Holland, both tubes, 10 minutes or less. That's in both directions. Here's what we see in Long Island, Big 3. I'm seeing pockets of delays but nothing major in the way of stalls or collisions. Now, in Connecticut, big problem there. Southbound 95 right around exit 7 in Stamford. You've got a crash there, and it's backed up to around Darien. Susan Browning, 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
And now a check of the AccuWeather forecast on the eve of a big snowstorm. Here's meteorologist Carl Erickson.
All right, Donna, keeping a very close eye on that approaching winter storm. Already got the Arctic air in place. We're down to 13 for a low tonight. Expect snow to arrive tomorrow morning as early as 5 to 7 o'clock there, with the snow really picking up in intensity quickly. So expect rapidly deteriorating streets and sidewalk conditions as the morning goes on. Some of those snowfall rates could approach 1 inch per hour with a high only of 22. It will not take much for that snow to accumulate. Now, later on in the afternoon, likely start to see some sleet to mix in, may even go over to all sleet in the city and point south and out across Long Island. That'll keep our snowfall ranges in that 4 to 8 inch range, but just in the western Jersey suburbs up through the Hudson Valley, less sleet there, so amounts closer to a foot or more. Now, even in the city, keep a very close eye on where that mixing line takes place, because if it is a little bit delayed, could have totals a little bit closer to a foot even in the city. Either way, very dangerous and difficult travel through tomorrow night. That storm begins to wrap up early Monday morning with a high of 28 in the afternoon, and another Arctic blast of air comes in on Tuesday with a high of 18. Right now, it is 17. Partly cloudy, winds northwest at 9. Repeating the current temperature, we're 17, going down to 13 in Midtown. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Guy Erickson on New York's weather station. 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM.
Well, some common and long-standing travel restrictions have been lifted at one of Europe's busiest airports, making it a little easier for passengers to breeze through security checkpoints.
No more tiny plastic bags for liquids at London's Heathrow Airport. Passengers will now be able to keep up to 2 liters of liquids when going through security. You can also keep your laptop in your carry-on bag. The changes are the result of a $1 billion security upgrade, including new security scanners.
Other major British airports already have that upgraded screening equipment. That was correspondent Stephanie Ramos. Well, tennis star Naomi Osaka is out at the Australian Open, not because she lost, but because she has an abdominal injury. The former world number 1 says it happened during her heated second-round win over Romania's Sorana Cirstea. Osaka said that her body has changed a lot since her pregnancy 2 years ago, adding it's something I have to be really cautious of. She had a daughter in 2023. The Japanese-born athlete won the Australian Open twice in 2019 and 21, and 2 other Grand Slam titles at the U.S. Open as well for her. Advocates for more open space in the 5 boroughs joining elected officials in Queens today to call for more parkland in Long Island City. Kathy Park-Price is with New Yorkers for Parks. She tells 1010 Winds about why they're pushing for more green infrastructure.
Long Island City is really desperate for open space. It ranks 57th out of 59 community board districts in terms of the percentage of parkland available to residents.
The new city council plan called One LIC rezoning is expected to deliver $2 billion in local investments, including 15 new acres of public space. Daredevil Alex Honnold was supposed to climb a massive 100-story skyscraper in Taiwan last night with live TV cameras rolling, but it was postponed due to the weather. He'll try again tonight. Honnold explained why he chose the Taipei 101 building, which is the 11th tallest skyscraper in the world.
From a distance, it looks insane. Like, it looks impossible. But then when you get right up close to it and you start grabbing the actual metal trim around the windows and things, you're like, oh, actually, this is perfectly suited for a human hand. It's like, it just works.
His adventure will air live tonight at 8 on Netflix. Are you still listening to 1010 Winds on AM? That is like using a rotary phone in our smartphone world. Make the switch to All News 92.3 FM. Your ears will thank you.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good afternoon. We have a temperature of about 17 degrees outside right now. A lot cooler, though, with the wind chill factored in. It is 5:20. I'm Donna Vaughn, and here's what's happening. A winter storm warning in and around the city this weekend as we wait for a potentially giant snow event to sweep in early tomorrow. AccuWeather is standing by, and they'll tell us how much we can expect. 1 dead, 15 hurt, and hundreds more homeless after an explosion and fire on an upper floor of a Bronx high-rise. Another fatal shooting by ICE agents in Minneapolis.
How many more residents, how many more Americans need to die or get badly hurt for this operation to end.
ICE says the man was armed, though a city police chief says he had a carry permit. President Trump now threatening a 100% tariff on Canada because of its recently announced trade deal with China. And the new Chris Pratt sci-fi thriller Mercy finally knocks Avatar from atop the movie box office. That and more coming up in 1010 Wins Entertainment. Well, the Knicks at the Sixers this afternoon. Earlier, a loss for the Islanders against Buffalo. AccuWeather says skies getting pretty cloudy tonight with real feels at or around 0. Wins News Time is 5:21. Let's get you where you need to go with Susan Browning.
Start off in New Jersey. A crash on the northbound Garden State Parkway, right around the Union Toll Plaza. At least 2 lanes were closed down there. Still that issue in Hackensack. Express lanes of Route 80 at Hudson Street. That's exit 66. At least 2 lanes down with a 2-car crash there in New Jersey. And if you're coming from New Jersey or points west, heading into Manhattan, here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Not too shabby. About 15 to 20 minutes on the inbound, George. Pretty much the same outbound as well. Lincoln and Holland in both directions. I'd say 10 to 15 minutes tops, so not too shabby. Gothels and Outer Bridge checking in okay, not seeing any major issues on our East River crossings. Here's what we see on Long Island's Big 3. Nothing really major to speak of, but in the Bronx, Henry Hudson moving southbound on the 1-teens, crash being worked on. I went right past that. Boy, that was a hot mess. That's in the left lane with debris on the road. Susan Browning, 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
Workers getting ready to be snowbound. The storm we've been warning you about for days now arrives early tomorrow, and it has the potential to be a whopper. As we wait and see, let's check in live now with AccuWeather meteorologist Carl Erickson for an update on the forecast. Carl?
All right, Donna, I've been watching the computer models all day and keeping a very close eye on the trends here, and it looks like the arrival time's still on track for our storm tomorrow. Coming in here right around daybreak, that window 5 to 7 o'clock Sunday morning. A little bit of that light snow beginning to unfold. That'll quickly pick up in intensity, though, as we go into the mid and late morning hours of Sunday, snowing heavily at times. Could be talking about snowfall rates 1 inch per hour. Visibilities down to near a quarter or even down to a 0 at times with those snowfall rates. Now going deeper into the day, they are going to keep a very close eye on the northward extent of a mixing line where some sleet will mix in with that snow, even changing over the sleet. I think that's going to be from the city on points east across Long Island down the Jersey Shore. As you head north and west of the city, of the Jersey suburbs up into Westchester County and points north, there I think you're locked into the snow for much of the duration of the storm. So expecting snowfall amounts of a foot or more in that corridor. Now in the city, the surrounding boroughs, looks like 4 to 8 inches of snow is expected. And that'll be true out across Long Island as well, with that sleet factored in with that. But if that sleet is delayed getting in here, Donna, those snowfall amounts even in the city could be closer to a foot. But right now, looks like we do get into that mixture into the afternoon. Either way, be prepared for conditions to rapidly worsen Sunday morning. It will not take long after the snow begins for the streets and sidewalks to become covered and slippery. Donna?
All right, thanks for that warning, Carl. This could be the biggest snowstorm to hit the 5 boroughs in about 5 years. Mayor Mondani warning of possible near blizzard conditions at times. A statewide emergency declared in both New York and New Jersey. If you have flight plans this weekend and you haven't already postponed your trip, the weather might wind up doing that for you. Some 11,000 flights have been canceled ahead of the storm, including a little over 300 cancellations at JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark today.
Airports are working round-the-clock operations, some spending more than $30,000 an hour to keep runways and taxiways clear. But the real test will be after the storm is gone. Airlines are already pre-positioning planes and crews, hoping that the recovery period for things to get back to normal won't take too long. And back here at Newark, one of the busiest airports in America, officials are urging passengers to check with their carriers before they head here, and they recommend all flyers look at FAA.gov to see if your airport has any issues.
Advice, host correspondent Andrew Dimbird. Keep it locked here at 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM for our storm coverage. Hundreds of residents of a Bronx apartment building now living in a Red Cross shelter at a local school following that fatal explosion overnight.
Stories at the Boston Seeker House is starting to sound the same.
I think that it's a botched construction team coming in, doing a rush job. It's been a show.
The residents claim the building's management negligent, botching repairs if they even get to it, like Ramona.
We pay a lot of money to stay here, and we've been treated like animals.
FDNY says a fire broke out on the 15th floor of this 17-story building. Bella's a distraught resident.
So many people got hurt. I just was...
I just feel so sad. And she, like so many others,
I don't have anywhere that I could go right now.
we have hundreds displaced, some relocated to a nearby school, over a dozen injured. FDNY confirms one person is dead. Amanda Alexander, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in the Bronx.
Wins News Time 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Bridget Quinn. It has happened again. A deadly shooting involving an ICE agent in Minneapolis. Already the scene of massive protests over the death of Renee Good. Both Governor Hochul and Mayor Mamdani have issued statements on today's shooting, and both DHS and Minneapolis officials have been holding news conferences. More from ABC.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Chuck Sievertson. The man shot dead by a federal Border Patrol agent today in Minneapolis during a scuffle with several agents, all caught on video, was a registered nurse. He's also been identified. The American Nurses Association in a statement saying it is deeply disturbed and saddened by the death of Alex Preddy. The ANA calling for a full, unencumbered investigation and urged findings be shared with Preddy's family and the public. Border Patrol officers were about to make a raid, says their commander, Greg Bovino.
During this operation, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The agents attempted to disarm the individual, but he violently resisted.
Minneapolis Police Chief says the man was white, 37, a legal gun owner with a permit to carry and an American citizen. This is ABC News.
And keep it locked to 1010 Wins for all the latest on that still developing story. But first at 5:31, let's get you where you need to go. And good evening, Susan Browning.
Right there, we're going to start off with New Jersey. But of good news, a crash on that northbound Garden State Parkway at Union Toll Plaza cleared out. Still that issue they're working on in Hackensack, though. Express lanes of Route 80 at Hudson Street. That's exit 66. At least 2 lanes down with the crash. So, are you in Jersey? You headed to the inbound George? Not a too shabby of a ride, I should say. About 15 minutes coming inbound, pretty much the same 20 minutes tops. And that is for both levels. The Hudson tubes are checking in A-OK. Not seeing any issues on the Goethals, the Outer Bridge, and now I'm seeing a new issue on the Tri-Barrel RFK. The Queens span, you've got a crash right as you come off, right at Astoria Boulevard. And in the Bronx, still working with that issue on the southbound Henry Hudson. At least one lane were closed down. That left lane, the back to the George. Give yourself an extra 15 to get past that. Riverside is an option, but everybody else is doing that too. Susan Browning, 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
And let's get the very latest on the path of this big storm. Meteorologist Carl Erickson.
Yeah, that's right, Bridget. Covering almost the entire nation here with this winter storm. Already the cloud cover on the increase across the city right now. We're down to, the temperature is going down to 13 for a low tonight. And there they will stay into the teens through much of the duration of this storm. As snow breaks out around daybreak, it'll pick up in intensity quite heavy at times for the mid and late morning hours. They'll carry off into the afternoon as well. Expect those travel conditions to deteriorate rapidly not long after that snow begins tomorrow morning, given how cold the ground is right now. Again, high 22 tomorrow, then some sleet will mix in late in the afternoon into the evening. Total accumulations across the 5 boroughs, 4 to 8 inches. Now extend across Long Island as well with a foot or more as you head into some of those Jersey suburbs and up through the Hudson Valley with less in the way of sleet factored in there. A few flurries up over Monday morning, but still very slippery travel. Temperatures stay below freezing, high 28. A break from the stormy weather on Tuesday, sunshine, but an Arctic blast of air comes in, high only 18. Right now, 17, partly cloudy, humidity 27%, winds northwest at 9 miles per hour. Repeating the current temperature, 17, going down to 13 in Midtown. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Carl Erickson on New York's weather station. 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM.
Carl, thank you. The latest now on the tariff wars. President Trump is threatening Canada with 100% tariffs over its trade deal with China.
Canada has agreed to lower tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles in exchange for lower tariffs on Canadian farm products sent to China. President Trump initially said the deal was a good one for Canada, but on Truth Social this morning, he warned Canada not to go through with it. Trump said if Prime Minister Mark Carney thinks he is going to make Canada a drop-off port for China to send goods and products into the United States, he is sorely mistaken.
Michael Wallace there, the Canadian Prime Minister Carney, has not responded to this threat, which came amid that escalating war of words with Carney as Mr. Trump tries to acquire Greenland. In Davos, Switzerland, at the World Economic Summit this week, President Trump commented, quote, "Canada lives because of the United States." Well, this is a big weekend for football. But one of the headlines out of the NFL is about Green Bay Packers offensive tackle Rasheed Walker, who's been arrested after police say he presented a firearm for